All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is me and Glenn talking about his book, some issues down in Florida, and just kind of going over some general topics and retics. Pretty good discussion. We get into some other species too. If you're interested in his book, The Complete Guide to Reticulated Pythons, you can scan the QR code right on the video, and I will have a link as well. It'll take you to his Instagram, where you can purchase directly from him, and that way you don't have to go through Amazon, because I guess Amazon's being jerk-offs right now about book sales. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. We'll get halfway through this, I'll be like, fuck. I almost fucked up majorly with me and Rob's.
Oh, did you?
Luckily, I do tend to do a backup recording through OBS, because I got two fucking screens here. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I was recording on OBS, and on this Riverside shit, I didn't fucking press record.
Oops.
And then he had a goddamn echo so bad, and luckily I had 4 different audio tracks running through fucking OBS, and I had, like, that whole fucking thing was almost trashed. I had to piece together the fucking audio.
And I'm sure he's really busy with working at Canova.
Yeah, he was all about doing these, and then he was like, I can't do the next one until the 16th. I was like, well, Glenn wants to come on. Like, 20 other motherfuckers want to come on. Eric Lee, I finally set that date up for the 16th with me, him, and Eric Lee.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so. But you want to do the corny-ass introductions like all podcasts, or you just want me to throw that in at the beginning?
It's up to you.
Well, I mean, your name's on there. They'll figure out who you are.
Yeah.
But the whole reason of this is we want to talk a little bit about this, which one thing I want to say about this book is this is going to sound weird, but this book makes me feel like I don't have to fight with anybody anymore. So thanks for writing it, because I can be a little more at ease. I don't feel like I have to constantly be battling everybody about information anymore.
And I think it's fairly non-controversial. There's nothing, I'm not trying to sell anyone anything in it. Yeah. It's just what I found.
Yeah. And, well, that can be controversial.
Well, that's a different story.
It can be controversial. But, it's whatever. But, real quick, I wanted to ask, before we get into this, I did want to ask your perspective on something, because I know you're going to give me an honest answer, not some fucking bullshit like PC reptile industry answer. You're in Florida now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your take on that whole invasive situation down there?
Oh, it is a mess, and it is horrible. I talked a little bit about it in the book, but there was this great quote from, I can't remember who it was. It might have been FWC, USGS, someone smart. Mm-hmm. But they said that the invasive Burmese python problem is, if it was a multiple choice test, it would be accidental releases during the hurricane, pet releases, and then random other findings. All of these contributed. So multifactorial. I talk a lot that it is most likely a majority pet owner release, but there are, of course, other factors. And then moving to the more veterinary medicine side of things, they've found serpentovirus, so nidovirus, in the wild Burms, which great, and the pentostomes. So that's why Burms got banned in Georgia, and that can transfer over to the native populations. So the Burmese ban, I get it. Totally. It's such an easy win.
I think that's a mistake this industry, the reptile industry made. And I caught a lot of shit for saying, like, because a lot of people want to be like, they're not, it's not, I'm like, well, listen, they're there. We can't deny they're there. My problem is saying this is my problem with the nationwide Lacey Act part of it. It's,
oh God, that was horrible.
What? Oh yeah.
The 2012 stuff.
Yeah,
You remember that?
Yeah, the 20. Well, then it was 2014, I think, when they officially.
Oh, was it
announced
2014?
Yeah, it was 2014 when they officially announced it, because that's when I couldn't get retics anymore. And my point is to this is, how does having a law that says you can put someone in prison for 12 months because they took a reticulated python from North Dakota, South Dakota, in any way helping solve the problem of Burmese pythons, however many thousands of miles away that is, at least 2,000, in Florida. And that was the issue that I personally had with it. I was like, but that's just kind of like government. It's like, well, there's a problem, so let's pretend like we're going to solve it and then tax people and fine them. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, that was my take on it. And, Lacey Act does have that clause in it that says, states have the ability to basically ban whatever the fuck they want. And Florida had already made it illegal. Like, it was already a Lacey Act violation to do anything with a Burmese python like that. So why? I just didn't see the point.
Mm-hmm. That's a very, I fully agree with that. And that's kind of why I said that it makes sense to kind of give up Burmese pythons in Florida. It's a no-win issue. They're already here. The people who have them probably aren't going to release them. Of course, there are protections that you could offer, but if we give Burmese pythons in Florida as the sacrificial lamb, the person can transport them between the two Dakotas. That just is common sense. The government wins, herp keepers win, everyone's happy. And then moving to the current state of Florida, because they've banned Burmese, I believe African rocks, retics, I think, not all the scrubs, but one of the species.
Yeah,
I still wouldn't own them because there's a small difference in the taxonomy now. I don't think they would be understanding, because if it's just scrub python, I don't remember how the law is written, but I checked the last time. I think it just said scrub python.
So they're not differentiating.
Yeah, but it gave, I think it was Somalia amethystina was the one they listed. Okay. But with the recent changes, it's out the door. Obviously, I don't like that because I want to keep reticulated pythons.
Yeah,
but,
like banning Tracy eye is ridiculous. Like, it's so hard to get them to breed in optimal conditions. Like, throwing them out in Florida, they're probably not going to do very well. I'm trying to breed my Tracy eye this year. So
how are you doing it?
Well, so far I've failed miserably. That's how it's going so far. Last year was a bust. I just think it's an age thing with them, to be honest.
How old are they?
I don't know. I've had them in my possession over 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they've been here a while. They're very established. I have 6. I have 3.3. I had 3.4, but I did lose a female. And one female, she's the oldest out of the bunch, but she's the smallest because she goes off feed every winter. So she goes off feed for like minimal 3 months every year. So she's just so behind. And the ones that came in pretty little, the 2 small females, they blew right past her. They're at least they're definitely over 7. They're probably 8 feet.
Okay.
So I'm trying. I had a pair together, and they weren't. I could tell they weren't interested. I did get a retic wise though. I did get a Philippine tribal lock with a ternate last night.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what kind of colors. The tribals are cool, but I'm actually more interested to see what a Philippine ternate looks like, because I think they're going to be probably pretty good.
Do you think it's going to bring out the red?
I think it's going to create, if I had to guess, I think there's going to be a massive conflict between the traits, and I think we're going to see just a very, very broad color spectrum and very interesting pattern. To be honest, I think that's what we're going to see. Because
with super dwarfs, we know that Ternate overpowers them, Philippine
the out of them.
Overpowers them, Slayer overpowers them. So when you have Ternates and then Philippines, that'll be interesting.
Your video's muddy as hell.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know how to fix it.
I can, if you give me a minute or two, I can get the nice camera set up.
Yeah, that's fine. What do you got? Because it says you're in 1080p.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says you're at 1080p, but you're not 1080p. You're at quality.
I've got. I'm just using my.
Everyone wants to see your pretty face, Glenn. So we can't disappoint.
Definitely. Let me go grab the camera. Let's hope it's charged.
Because I have a rather unpopular position on a lot of that stuff, and I'm pretty anti-government for it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, let's not pretend like we didn't create a giant fucking problem.
That's my response too, and instead of trying to be negative about it, like so many other people are when you talk about it, my thing is, okay, we also have the ability to show that we're not all weirdos sitting doing weird things. Like we can change people's mind. We can show like, okay, yes, the Burmese pythons are an issue, but here's how we can use that same species for education, and then not get them to be invasive. And so with retics in Florida, the likelihood of them ever being established is next to none.
Yeah.
But the fear of having a 20-foot snake show up in someone's backyard is horrifying.
Well, if
and
they knew they could sell that 20-foot snake to a zoo for about $20,000, they wouldn't be so afraid of it.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But like the iguanas, all the reptile people I've talked to, they're like iguanas are pretty bad down there.
Iguanas, tokay geckos, there's the Nile monitors, there's veiled chameleons.
Yeah, I can't see veileds really hurting the environment too much though. I can't. They're super prolific breeders, so I'm guessing that's the only reason they're making it. But I can't see them doing too much damage.
Yeah, I don't know enough of those specifics, but
yeah.
At least there are the alligators to eat the Burmese pythons. Yeah. You don't have that. You don't have nothing eating the retics in Puerto Rico.
No, hey, this is crazy. I just a guy's making payments on a snake, on a retic, and he's from Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And he was sending me pictures of like all the shit they were catching down there. Like his buddy was catching calicos and stuff, and mm-hmm. I think what happened was the guy. I think the guy was getting that stuff out of Indo. I think he was just getting illegal shipments right out of Indo. I don't think it was coming through the U.S. At least through our U.S. ports. I think it was like shady shipping from Indo to there or something like that. But yeah, they said that he's like, yeah, you can. He's like, you can go catch a wild albino down there right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he sent me a bunch of pictures.
They've got amels.
Yeah, I know they have amels because he sent me a picture of one.
I think they even have. I talk about it somewhere here in the book, but there is more data about the origin of those animals that hasn't been released yet.
No, it was a coke dealer. It was a big time coke dealer.
Hasn't been released yet, but
I got the. I'll have to send you I got the full scoop, man. It's like I got pictures, all kinds of shit. Yeah, supposedly when he was about to get busted, he just let all his shit go. Yeah. No do we know what year that happened?
No, but I'm assuming mid 2010s.
Okay. That has to be a somewhat isolated population.
I'm not sure how, and I don't think the researchers are either, how prolific they can be across the island.
Yeah.
But it's bad.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, so there's a reason why you can find wild albinos there. There's nothing that's going to predate them.
Yeah. Well,
that's why you're not finding wild albino berms.
The thing about retics, though, like especially the mainlands, those males do not get along. So they will, like, at least males will kind of limit some numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're not going to, I don't see an invasive retic population ever being able to get out of control like a level of a Burmese, because Burmese males aren't going to rip each other to shreds.
I don't know if that'll be enough though to stop it, because It's okay. Like with cats, This is very interesting, and I only learned this recently, is that even if you neuter, feral cats, that one male who's still intact will now go breed more females because now there's less male aggression.
He'll just be smashing it like crazy.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, even with the neutered cats, I saw a lot. They're trying to do a lot of that where they're, it's like neuter and release, and I'm like, well, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, are we more worried about the cat, or are we more worried about the environment? You know,
it's a no-win. Well, more complicated issues, but most of these aren't straight feral. They're what's called community cats, so people will go out and feed them. So if you were to euthanize that animal, that could be some retiree's little baby that comes to its porch every night and it feeds. So it's very unpopular, and spay and neuter does work to some degree. Yeah, especially on female side because that's the limiting sex.
Yeah, I couldn't believe just in this little town I live in, we took in a stray. She ended up being pregnant when we took her in. And then she got pregnant again. So I have all these cats, and I'm such a pussy. I won't take them to the SPCA because I'll kill them. Oh. So I got like 1 million cats now, and but I didn't realize how bad just the feral cat population was just in this little town in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if it's this bad here, and they're making it through our winters, somewhere that doesn't have awful weather, they're probably really doing well. Because here they're getting eaten up by hawks and eagles and and coyotes and foxes, and there's a lot of shit taking them out. Mm-hmm. Now because I live in town, and every once in a while like a red tail will come through my yard and just kill something.
Oh, cool.
You know what I mean?
Not the killing part, but
I mean because they'll just, or Cooper's hawk will show up and just nail something out of the yard. And there was I think it was in PA, they had to shut down the bald eagle nest live feed because they kept bringing back fucking people's cats.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, kept bringing back cats, so they had to shut it down. Because and owls eat the shit out of cats too. Like all of those, like out of my dad's right now. He lives in the woods. There's a big group of eagles in the area right now. There's goldens and bald eagles right now, just all over out there. So I need to get out and get some pictures of them and stuff,
Yeah, because they're nesting right now.
Yeah. So, okay, what the hell was the next question here?
We're talking about retics.
Yeah. Cats. Yeah. I kind of got a little off subject with all the invasive stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, first question here. I have a group of them, some written down, some on the phone here. What was the hardest thing about writing that book?
That's a good question. Now I have to think about it because a lot of it I was able to do on my own, but
besides finding accurate information.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting to, is that everyone has a story. They want to tell it to you, and they view it as the absolute truth.
Yeah.
And that's great. And there's a lot of fantastic stories that come out of that. But if I were only to write the complete reticulated python from the Rodney Bolish point of view, it would be insincere. I couldn't get contrasting viewpoints, and I couldn't work to find that objective truth.
Yeah.
I likened it, I think, on Lucas's podcast to being like an investigative reporter or a historian, to where there is some semblance of reality, and I have to work to find that.
Yeah.
So the captive history stuff, especially, that was one of our very first phone call.
I told that story. Yeah, I felt like I really took the wind out of your sails with that story.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. About 20 other times, but
yeah.
Are you surprised that you're actually holding it?
What, the book?
Yeah, the book.
Yeah. I didn't think it was. I thought you were just going to be like, because once you got into like the captive, the retic industry side of, I'm like, he's not going to want to deal with any of this.
Yeah, no, I think that should have been very quickly evident on my end, and it was quickly very evident on your end, and I didn't see that.
Yeah, because I mean, if I was to write a retic book, I'd basically just write a book about ternades. You know, I'd just be like, this is
Yeah.
the best locality. Everything else is junk. Let's get one of these. You know, just
And that's great for YouTube,
Yeah.
but trying to offer something different.
Well, the thing I liked was I liked how you went through the morphs and their origins, because that's been a decade-long fight for me on the origins of some of these animals with that dwarf label that got attached to, and I'm like, you know, it's just, why are we lying to people, man? Like, what's for an extra couple $100? It's why do that, you know? And
The good news is that this information could all be proven wrong. So maybe this inspires someone who.
well, I
caught
don't
this.
I don't agree with that. I don't think you could prove OGS is from Blatar region. I think you would have a hard time.
Oh no! No.
You know what I mean? You'd have a hard time. Somebody'd have a real hard time putting together an argument that OGS doesn't come from the eastern part of Java.
Oh,
You know,
because they've popped up so many times there.
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like it's even the second ocelot. It was found like within miles. I think it was 2 years or
along
4.
the Solo River.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that river, but yeah, it was like, was it 2 years or 4 years? I can't remember that off the top of my. I have pictures of both of them, and that second one was the real high silver one.
Yeah, I think I put that one in the book it was from Danus.
Yeah,
And I could never find who took the photo of the first one. So, oh yeah, okay. There you go.
yeah,
That one.
yeah, because that one's silver, like crazy silver.
Yeah, the original was ugly.
The original, I like the original, and the reason I like the original is because when I look at the original one from a breeding perspective, it had a lot more potential for color spectrum for me to play with. You know what I mean? And I'm in a situation now where, you know, the ocelot projects I'm working on, it's from like goal one is see how much outlining coloring I can put back into it, like, because if it either ocelot either just reduces it or it eliminates it, and it seems like it's more of a reduction, and you know, there seems like to be like, it seems like there's a lot of polygenic traits in play, like there is with all of it. You know what I mean? I know it drives me crazy when people try to talk about variation of a morph. I'm like, dude, you are not seeing variation of a morph. You're seeing variation of about 1,000 other genetics. You know.
Ask the carpet python people about polygenics.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, look at where they've taken jungles.
Yeah. Yeah, like some of the old lines of jungles, I don't know if you've seen them. They're not, you wouldn't even know they're jungles. Like some
No,
of the
they're
really,
ugly.
yeah, yeah, they're
I'll
trash.
just be straight. But no,
Yeah.
what they've been able to do with that, because the morph itself doesn't change. It's all of the polygenic factors that are affecting its end phenotype. That's, I think, fairly obvious, but manipulating those polygenic traits is very hard.
Yeah, it's nice that they're talking about that in other species, but I'm the only one really who's been singing that song in retics. You know, and it's been kind of a push, been like, okay, no, marble, if you want a nice marble, you need these traits plus a marble. And that's been kind of hard. And I just started those. I don't know if you saw it. I just started that morph function breakdown videos. I'm going to do that for all the morphs, and I started with anthrax, and I thought it would get about 40-50 views. I wasn't expecting. I'm like, how many people really want to hear my opinion on how I think anthrax works? And it got 250 views. I was actually, yeah, it got 200 more views than I thought it would.
I was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you have any criticism or preferably constructive criticism on how I can make those types of videos better, let me know, because, you know, that was the first one I've ever really done like that. And I think I'm going to do platinum next, and just, you know, just go down the list.
Have you read the story about the platinum in the book?
Which platinum? Because
The
I know
main
a couple. I know a couple platinum stories. I didn't make it through the book yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's so long. No,
I
but
like looking at pictures.
Samson told me this story.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, this will be on the highlight reel that I put out before the episode comes out. The Samson story.
No, it's just an interesting story. of how that happened, and it pained me physically to cite him as the following story is relayed by Samson Pruit, because
it wouldn't pain me at all if I could make the worst possible Hallmark movie rendition of the Samson Pruit story. I would do that in a second if I could make that fucking movie. I'd be so rich. It'd be like Tiger King meets like some Come Home for Christmas Hallmark series. It'd be fantastic.
yeah.
You'd watch it. You know it.
Yeah, of course I'd watch it. Are you kidding me? I'm going to shake my head, but I'm going to watch that. Absolutely.
Oh, man. You know, some of the Samson videos I put up, they're still getting a lot of views, and I still get, like, once a week I'm getting a comment on it, or somebody's asking some questions, and I went back and rewatched the second employee video that came out, Maddie. And I forgot how funny that video was. If you go back, it's the second employee. If you go back and just listen to her tell this story about how when she got there, and because she's just making fun of Samson like through the whole thing, and you know, it's a what was it? What was the first thing he said to her when she got out of the truck? He's like, "Wow, you got big tits." Oh, by the way, it's $10 an hour, not 20. Take it or leave it. You can sleep in the bed with me and Cass or in the van. I was cracking up. I totally forgot about that conversation. I went back and watched it. I was like, I should have won some sort of award for this groundbreaking journalism that we did. Yeah, that was. I mean, like the animal abuse aside, you know, that was awful. But the stories and the conversations I got to have with people was I mean, this is horrible, but I had a blast talking with those people, because Samson is such a cartoon character of a human being, and he's like just the ultimate like narcissist in his own little world. And I'm sorry, but that's it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you could not. And I was like, because when I started looking into it, I'm like, dude, this is worse than this is Tiger King level ridiculousness. You know, did I tell you about that one girl that she just would not go on camera because she signed an NDA but never started working?
No.
Oh, I didn't tell you this. She decides she wants to work with retics, and somehow Samson finds her, and she's like 1,000 miles away or something. So he tells her he has a state-of-the-art facility, the nicest retic breeding facility in the country, nicer than Jay Brewer's, because that's what she was watching, like a lot of Prehistoric Pets video. And so she packed up her kid in her car, quit her job, and drove there. And he said that she'd have lodging and everything, and when she got there, it was like this rundown retic puppy mill that smelled like death, and her and her like 5-year-old daughter were supposed to sleep in the broken down van. That was her living arrangement. And yeah, and she was crying telling me this because she was so distraught. And I'm like, and I'm holding my phone like this because I'm laughing because I'm a horrible person. And she's like, I uprooted my entire life, and it was my dream. And I had to fucking laugh. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking, yeah. And I couldn't even keep it together. I was laughing so fucking hard. I was like, how much do I got to pay you to go on camera and tell this story? She wouldn't do it. She's like, I don't want to get sued. I'm like, that fat fuck can't sue you. Like, what the hell? I was like, I'll pay your fines. I don't care. Just please let me put this on camera. Yeah, dude, she quit her job, packed up I think it was her daughter, like 5 years old, and drove the whole way to North Carolina. She turned around and drove back home. She didn't even work one day. She's like, I can't have a kid here living in a van. Oh, man. Yeah, we're doing great being on topic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell a Samson story without, you know, going down that rabbit hole. Okay, so
Lovely Samson.
Yeah. So, did we even answer the question? What was the hardest part about the book to write? I don't think.
Oh,
we did.
I don't. Yeah. Cut. The hardest part about the book to write was probably the captive history section.
Really?
Yeah. I also spent quite a bit of time on that because, like, in our conversations from where I started off to where I finished, because did you see the captive history timeline?
I did look through that.
I think I was pleased with.
I
how
thought that was
turned
really, when you went back, like, you like the first one, like in a zoo somewhere. Like I was really impressed with that. Yeah.
That was the very first captive breeding that I could find.
Wow. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I was impressed with. I was like, man, how did he find out all this shit?
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, I mean, that was stuff I'd never even heard of. Oh wow,
That's the original photo.
where the hell did you even find that?
eBay.
Really?
Yep. I have a stack of old retake photos right here.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, man, if people aren't appreciating this, because I don't even know how he found all of that shit.
Yeah, there you go. Captive history timeline.
Oh, okay.
Because
And that was yeah, I guess it would have been pretty simple up until about what, 1985, 1990s, when like they really hit the US market and it became I'm guessing there wasn't a whole lot of exciting morph combos
no.
pre 97.
You know what? Crutchfield had I think it might have been a golden child.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Was it from
way
Solaire?
before Nerds. It was big. Oh no, he said it was from Ambon, I believe.
There was a lot of people that claimed Ambon shit. There was like for a long time, like all retics were either like Bali, Sola, Ambon, or Sumatran. Like if it came out of Indo, it was always one of those islands, and half the time it was none of those islands.
Yeah. But then you've got some morphs popping up everywhere. Titanium has popped up everywhere. Obviously albino, because there's like the white albino from the Philippines in there, and then everywhere else it was found.
Yeah, there's that T positive in there. There's that T positive. I forget what island in the Philippines it was found. Then in the Sangjai region islands there north of Sola, there was that T positive found.
That was a cool one.
I was like, my God. I don't think it was Sanjai Island. I think it was the island right beside it, but I can't remember the name of that island. I think that was it. I don't know. It was one of them.
I only remember the Sangihi.
Yeah, because that was. Do you remember that 2002 paper that everybody cites? There was one from that island done in that paper too that nobody talks about, and for some reason it didn't get its classification. This is the totally off-topic question, but how do you feel about that Saputrii and Jampianus subclass? I don't agree with it at all.
Oh, really? I do.
Well, I think they're separate species.
Oh, I am very, very conservative in that regard. So
I'll just disagree with it because I want to. But I just, because when you look at what is that? It's the Wallace line that runs in between Borneo and the Sula. And when you look at that drastic difference between the Borneo, you still can get some Sula-ish colors on Borneo. But when you then you get over into Sulawesi, I just feel like you're in different retic territory then. Like,
because you can see all the different, there are so many different phenotypes even within Sula.
Yeah. There was I thought it was funny because people are trying to use head scalation for identification. I'm like, you can find all of that on Sola.
They in Hanifa's paper, even on Kalatoa, he found variation.
Yeah.
There you go, Wallace line and everything.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird though. You see, I don't think the Wallace line terribly applies to retics, because if you look at where Wallace line northern part of it cuts Borneo and Sola, you get this drastic difference in retics. And then it cuts in that like mile strip between Bali and Lombok. And you ain't telling the difference between a Bali and a Lombok. Like
I don't know if I can think of a Lombok.
It's a Bali.
Okay.
Yeah. Imagine a Bali. That's what a Lombok looks like. So yeah, there's no way. Like, and I don't know, because it seems like from like West or Central Java, like Jawa, and then like it just seems like that's where like retics kind of change from like that Sumatran, Western Java, and like even kind of like the Southern Malaysia look. And then it's like after Jawa, it just seems like they change a little bit, and then it seems like it's kind of spread out through the lesser sundas, and it's like almost, I don't, in my opinion, that's like a different. That's when retics really start to get different. It's not where Wallace line splits Bali and Lombok. It's actually, for me, from what I've looked at, it looks like it's Jawa and Java.
Well, I
That's all
will
my
say,
scientific research of visually looking at pictures too.
yeah, that's the hard part, is how misleading phenotype can be, because you've got the short tail complex now, which is
Yeah.
3 different species. You have green tree pythons, which are effectively 4 species, but they haven't fully reached that classification. They're
Oh,
2
really?
species and then 3 subspecies. It's stupid, but
Yeah.
lots of, and they look virtually identical to most people. And then obviously the short tail complex looks very similar.
Yeah.
So solely basing it on phenotype is very challenging. And then you get into a lot of bad taxonomy if you do that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
if you,
don't you think Saputrii specifically is a bit problematic? Because like, it's if Soleil is Saputrii, then what's Sulawesi? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like Sulawesi, since it's the big island, it's the main island, and everything else are kind of satellites. It seems like that should be the Saputrii. But I heard they only ran it up into Bantayang.
So that is Saputrii's range.
Yeah. See, like, I'm gonna be a fortune teller here, and I'm gonna say somebody is eventually gonna look at this, and they're gonna say Sulawesi complex is its own subspecies or own species, and then Bantayang into Tambalong and Solaire, that's basically just a subspecies of that island group. That's my guess. When it comes down to genetics, I think that's what they're going to find.
So that is, I can't even, there we go. There is a huge, there is differences. So that's Saputrii, but Jampionis is lumped in there, which is very interesting.
That's
and then
so.
That was the one you were talking about.
Yeah, and that one was like all by itself. And I'm like, so why don't we ever talk about that island group? That's incredibly interesting.
I honestly am not even that familiar with it. So,
well, yeah,
that's on me.
Yeah, know what I mean? It's nobody is, because I never was able to get any in.
But still, from the herpetology side of things,
I don't think there's a whole lot going on up in that section of the world there. I mean, I don't think there's too much going on that. But like Siao Island and stuff up there, it was so weird to see that they had more of a Saputrii look, and then when I saw stuff off of Siao, it looked more like Northern Maluku, and I'm like, well, how is this Northern Maluku look sitting in a cluster of Saputrii looks? It's just so retics are so interesting, and I just feel bad that like there's not the scientific drive to really look into them. And Raul Diaz is supposed to be coming on here to talk about that, because he was originally going to go to Indo to do like this massive retic study, and then they banned importation, and all the funding got cut, and like he was like basically had the funding to go study retics in Indo, and then he couldn't bring anything back, so it just kind of killed it.
Leah's 2017 paper is a fairly good phylogenetic insight into them. Yeah, I would read it. I
read it a while ago, and it was one of those. It just some things stick in my mind and some things don't, and that unfortunately didn't, because Raul sent me that paper.
Oh yeah, all of Iulia's stuff is fairly good. But Natouche published a paper earlier this year. I wish I had seen it before I published the book, but it was looking at retics, farming them for food and its sustainability, and they looked at the growth rate. Very interesting.
Really?
Yeah, and how little you can actually feed them to obviously make them grow and then to stabilize their growth.
Well, yeah, Wolfgang always told me that. Wolfgang was, I'm going to, it'll be almost impossible to get him to come on here because he hates everybody in reptiles, at least in the U.S. But he was telling me, because he has all larger genetics for the most part, and he was telling me, he's like, I don't feed these snakes much. He's like, they just have the genetics to grow. He said the ones that don't have the genetics to grow don't grow. He said the ones that do, they grow. Because he's only feeding like once every month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Just a decent size.
Should.
Yeah, like he's just a nice, big, decent sized mill, and he's like, they shoot up. He's like, they blow up in size. He's like, if they have the genetics, like, they're growing. It's just how it works. But yeah, that would be, when did that paper come out?
2014. Let me see. I had the PDF saved. I was going to email it to you and then I forgot.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's a really good paper.
Yeah, because I mean, it's, my buddy Andrew brought up a Superdorf that needed a little bit of size put on it to breed this season. I'm like, how much food am I going to have to dump into this thing to get it to grow 6 inches? Mm-hmm. It's like putting 6 inches on a mainland, you can do that by accident.
Yeah, do it overnight.
Yeah.
Okay, so the paper is called Python Farming is a Flexible and Efficient Form of Agricultural Security, Natouche et al., 2014. It was published in March of this year. Pythons that were fasted up to 4.2 months lost an average of 0.004% of their body mass per day and resumed rapid growth as soon as feeding recommenced.
Wow, so that's it.
It's incredible, and that's why I wrote in the book a lot about don't overfeed your animals.
Yeah, because I only feed like every 3 weeks to a month on my adults. I don't.
Oh, you could go longer.
Yeah, I mean they give them for safety reasons.
If you want your face bitten off, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, for safety reasons I don't. I mean literally for safety reasons. Yeah, because I was low on rabbits. I was low on rabbits not too long ago, and I had to call the rabbit who I was like, listen, I was like, whatever you got, I need because it's getting dangerous. Yeah, because a hungry retic is a very dangerous retic.
Yeah, that's the hard part, that their natural behavior sometimes isn't what we want it to be.
Have you ever worked with Timors?
No, I hear they're very smelly.
No, they're
they're not?
Constantly pissing on you. Other than that,
oh yeah,
that's the smelly part.
Yeah.
No, one of the interesting things about those, with how close they are related, their demeanor is very different. They have a very because my female, she's actually blown up with follicles right now, and I'm hoping I get a clutch this year because they bred last year and I didn't get a clutch. But I'm hoping because Timors are they're probably. Like, retics are my favorite, but Timor is right there. Timors are such an interesting animal, but their demeanor is so much different. They're so flighty and scared of you. I honestly don't understand how they even survive in the wild because they're afraid of literally everything.
That's probably how they survived.
But no, if you can't get retics, you might want to get yourself a Timor.
If you produce them.
Yeah, I'll let you know. But yeah, if you could get retics, what would you be working with?
Okay, this first one is heathenous, and I understand it, but a cow.
Really?
They're just cool.
You probably get one. Just say it's something else. Like it's not.
Yeah, it's a super fire boa.
Yeah.
Super fire boa is the mage, and then obviously some sort of locality, probably either a Ternate male or a Slayer male.
Really?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't think I would do Super Dwarf or the Jampionus route again.
They're not. Unless you can get one and get it calm, they're not a lot of fun to work with, to be honest. You know what I mean? The Jampionus stuff is probably a lot closer to like Timor behavior.
That's kind of what I was thinking as you were talking, is the old ideas of how flighty they were, which was from the Wildcats.
Yeah, and but I years ago, like a little over a decade ago, I did have some Timors that I'd got in that were like raised up and handled a lot, and they were great. But this pair I have here that was imports, they weren't big when they came in, but they just never. Like the female, if you stress her out, she'll quit eating for 3 months. You know, that kind of stuff. And it's
Wild
like,
caught.
yeah. Yeah. So, like, 'cause she should be 2 foot bigger than she is, but it's like she'll shut down on me for 3 months at a clip.
How are your boas doing? Because you're only working with the Peruvians, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping they bred last year, but I didn't get anything. I'm hoping this year. I'm not a big boa guy, but I've always liked, since I was a little kid, I've liked Peruvians. I've always liked
They're
Peruvians.
beautiful.
Yeah, and when I got a chance to get some, I had 2.2, and I actually traded a buddy a pair for his Sri Lankan pit vipers, because I had my pair, and then he had some, and I wanted to add to my collection.
Understandably.
Yeah, those are cool ass snakes.
Oh yeah.
Those are so cool. What are the rules? I don't even know what the rules are for venomous in Florida.
You can keep them, but I believe you need 1,000 hours of supervised experience first. That's why people work with Crutchfield all the time. There's so few people down here who will let you do that. And Crutchfield opens his doors to anyone.
Yeah, he will open his doors to anybody that wants to come there and just stand there in awe of him. He will. Maybe I'll see if he wants to come on.
There are very few people here that will let you do that for obvious reasons.
They don't want to be. Yeah, fuck you. You're not coming here and learning how not to get killed by a venomous snake. Like that's not happening.
I looked into it. There's actually, have you heard of the Rattlesnake Conservancy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. They might even do classes up there, but they do classes down here that get some experience actually handling venomous. I haven't had the chance to do it yet, but I want to.
Yeah, this area I'm in, there's a mountain range that runs through my dad's property, and it has the highest known density of timber rattlesnakes.
Oh, that is awesome.
Like, there is. Like, there's... You can't... If you go looking for them out there, you find them. Like, if you're not looking for them, you usually find them, too. Yeah, there was a couple yellow ones that we ran into this year. I mean, they were... I've never wanted to take a timber home, because they're just, if I want to see a timber, I can go see one. Why would I illegally keep one and, have to take care of it when I can go see them anytime I want, basically? But there was one that was so nice. I'm like, this thing needs in a breeding program. I mean, it was just screaming yellow. I mean, it was so impressive. There was another one that we saw this year that looked like some kind of motley morph.
That makes sense, actually.
Had this weird stripe with like the pattern coming off the back stripe. It was a really neat animal. It was a yellow too. It was a really pretty snake.
Someone's breeding project. Go out there and find it.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, if you are gonna fuck with rattlesnakes though, like timbers are a good one, because they're usually not bad to work with. Every once in a while you'll get a shitty one, but they're usually, I mean, only about 1 out of every 30 will even strike at you.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's Easterns here.
Yeah, it's not like an Eastern or Western. Westerns are usually pretty big dicks.
Yeah, I didn't in California go out looking for them for obvious reasons.
Yeah. All right, next question. Since where are we at? Oh, this is a good one. From your outside perspective, how do you think the retic industry could progress in a better way?
Yeah, that is a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
But I think as an outsider, I'm not bogged down in the culture. I'm not bogged down in the relationships. I'm not bogged down in having to sell these animals.
Yeah, you're not bogged down in the financial dependency.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I don't know why anyone wants to be, but here nor there. I think that the biggest sources of improvement is by taking the herpetoculture seriously. So, even though locality preservation in retics is, I don't call it conservation, but you could justify it in some regard, but showing that you are serious, doing things like disease testing, educational events, having a larger purpose, making it more challenging for people to buy your animals, because you're not letting just Joe Schmo at a reptile show pick up an animal and say, here it is. Here's your 25% super dwarf that will get 10 feet or whatever Samson
Unless
used
it's
to
them
say.
small bloodlines. Might only get 6 feet. You got them right bloodlines. You should have done
So-
a small bloodline chapter.
No. That's the like. Okay, there's probably some degree of accuracy to that, but
Yeah, there
can't
is. I think it's
prove
more
it.
small individuals.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I
you
mean?
breed small individual to small individuals. Yes, but I can't prove that, and this species in particular is so size dependent based on food that you can't write that. But if you want a small animal, get ones from small parents. It's not that hard.
And then feed it small mills.
Yeah, or don't power feed it. Obviously, don't start
Dude,
it
I
out.
caught a lot of shit for fucking talking shit on the whole bloodline thing.
I understand. Yeah, well, you didn't have much tact in that
No.
particular endeavor.
No, I caught a lot of shit. Man, there was people pissed off about that.
I think if you had said, okay, the general idea of it is probably not correct, but here's how it can be correct, that's what people would have been like, oh, okay, I understand. But you don't always have the most delicate approach.
Well, sometimes if you act like a clown, people pay attention. You know what I mean?
You did that really well for a couple years there.
Yeah, well, I was doing that long before.
Yes.
Oh.
But there was a period of time there where you were a little fiery.
Yeah. Well, this happens when you give my snakes to Samson.
Yeah.
There's Rodney gets a little fiery about some things, and that's one of them.
But how do you see basically taking retics from something of a joke species that only the weirdos work with, even in herpetoculture? How do you see
the white trash, the white trash of the retic or the reptile industry?
Those are your words, but
I think it's accurate, because I think for a long time that's how the venomous community, like back in the 90s and early 2000s, like that's how the venomous were kind of looked at, like this like the cousin you didn't want to come to the reunion, but he's the cousin, so you had to invite him anyways.
Yep.
And then over time, the venomous laws kind of got stricter. The prices had dropped so much that a lot of venomous wasn't worth producing. And then it was kind of like, well, if I can't get a snake that can kill me with a bite, then I'll get one that can kill me with through strangulation. So, I just feel like that's kind of where at least the mainland market went. It went, and it just kind of got like, well, I can get this snake for, I can get a pair for $1,000 and breed them and get 40 eggs. And, now I can sell those all for $250. And, it went downhill very quickly. And well, you know how morphs are, though. I mean, even if it's all that pyramid accident, I call it an accidental pyramid scheme, because you start at the top, and and just common supply and demand always drags, it just drags it down, because it has to come down. It's just the way it is. But
to interrupt you, real quick, have you heard of the monsoon ball python morph? Because that is the only morph I can think of in basically all of herpetoculture that hasn't really fallen victim to that.
Really? I'll have to look it up.
It's been around for, I think, 10 years, and it was very slowly released. There is a way to do it, though. So back to your point.
Yeah, well, and I think the way to move forward is, let me think how I can say this without causing too many problems. I think the mainland market is going to have to self-destruct to the point that it's no longer profitable to make a 40-egg clutch of retics. And I think until you get, because that's kind of how it got in a lot of venomous. I don't know, how old were you in like 97?
Not alive.
Okay, so you probably weren't privy to like gaboon and puff adder and all that kind of like that stuff really started coming down in price, and it just got to the point where it was like, well, I'm gonna have to take care of these animals that can kill me, that can kill the people I'm selling them to, and I'm getting $40 a baby. So that's, and ironically, this is the best part about this whole talk on venomous. Ironically, one of the most stable parts of the reptile industry right now is the venomous market.
It's low, but
Yeah, but it's stable. I mean, it's if I had 20 or 30 Sri Lankans that were well started, eating frozen thawed, drinking out of a water bowl, I'd sell. They would fly out the door. They would fly out the door, probably at $1,000 a pair.
would you post them on Fauna?
I don't like Fauna. Me and Fauna used to fight a lot.
Of course.
Well, they took it down. Like, my original beef with US Ark was actually Andrew Wyatt.
Oh yeah, of course.
And like, I used to get into it with those people on there. And I did get vindicated, because I was like, that was how, like, me and Kevin's beef started. Like, me and Brian Potter's beef started. Me and Jay Brewer's beef. Well, I always said Jay was an idiot, but because everybody was calling Wyatt like the hero of the industry. I'm like, this guy's a motherfucking scam artist. Like, what do you mean hero? Like, he's scamming this fucking industry. And a few years, well, about 4 or 5 years later, I ended up being right.
Because that was like early 2010s, right?
That was early 2010. I was on Team US Ark until I'd caught wind of some bullshit. And then I looked into it, and I found out in 2011, I believe it was, Wyatt claimed to have stopped an alligator ban in Pennsylvania. And I remember the guy's name was Senator Alloway. And I called there, and I'm like, yeah, what's up with this, alligator ban? He's like, well, we weren't really looking at it, but we got contacted by US Ark, Andrew Wyatt, and he wanted to know if we wanted to put in some best management practices and get some legislation going. That motherfucker started the whole thing. And then when it didn't go anywhere, he claimed he stopped it. And I tried to tell
He's not wrong.
Well, when
he did stop it.
Yeah, when I tried to tell everybody about it, they're like, you're making this up, you're lying. And then the next session, Alloway actually tried to ban alligators, and then they got pissed off at me because they were supposed to send me everything they'd ever gotten from Wyatt. But I called Fish and Wildlife. I was like, hey, you realize these guys are going to ban alligators, and like every idiot in Pennsylvania has an alligator. Like, I was like, you guys are going to have to come up with a plan. And I was like, because they're saying you guys are going to have to go confiscate that. All of them were like, no, that's not happening. So they called Alloway's office and were like, we're not driving around to collect alligators, so just leave these people alone. And so they ended up getting pissed off at me, and they never gave me all the information about Wyatt. But man, that's how that whole thing started.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
I remember him leaving, but I don't remember what. It may not have been public back then.
Did you know why he got kicked out of Tinley? It all started because he got kicked out of Tinley.
No, I remember he got kicked out of Tinley, but I don't remember why.
And meanwhile, Brian Potter's still covering for the guy, still telling everyone I'm a scumbag liar. But they had it was him, and he had that Erica chick, and they had made some comments about somebody, don't let your kids around so and so because of some charges. Well, it was this guy's dad who was dead that had gotten in trouble years and years ago for some shady shit, but they kind of like implied that it was him that was and involved kids, and that's actually how he got tossed out. That's like how that whole war started, and they left that piece of shit on to deal with HR 511. HR 511, it was in committee in February of 2012, and it got passed out of committee. And if you can find that hearing, watch that hearing. It was in the House Judicial Committee. Okay. There was so many people that were like, look how, and this was people that were supporting banning the snakes, were saying, but there's no guardrails for this. It's over criminalization. They're like, you're going to lock up a soccer mom because she accidentally took a snake across the state line about this law. There's no way she would know it exists. And they added what was called a knowing clause to HR 511. So it was dead. That's a can of worms. Yeah. So it was dead in the water, and Wyatt needed a big end of the year fucking payday. So he made some calls and got the house, what was it? It was like Fish and Wild. I don't know. It was like something animal related. So he sets the hearing up, because he was going through a guy named Harry Burroughs who was telling me about it, and why I didn't know Harry was working with somebody at the head of the House, at that subcommittee, and everyone's like, vote no on HR 511, because that was it passed out the first one, House Judiciary, in February, and Wyatt got it picked up in like November or December or some shit, and they kept Wyatt on because USARK board's so goddamn clueless. Wyatt's like, hey man, we got this HR 511 that, you know, it could do this, and I'm telling everybody it can't pass. It can't. Fish and Wildlife are not going to let a knowing clause get thrown into the Lacey Act. You guys are idiots. Jeff Behringer was saying, the guy from owner of Kingsnake, he was trying to tell he put out a reward. He goes, if anybody can show me a similar bill in this situation that's ever passed, I will give you X amount of money. And obviously no one ever got that money. And that was probably that was when I was like, how is USARK board this unaware of Wyatt's behavior? He set up the second HR 511 hearing, and it was a subcommittee hearing. And you have Jay Brewer and all these people saying, vote no, vote no. I'm like, it's not. It's a subcommittee hearing. It's whether or not it needs to go to full committee. What do you think? Like, you don't pass into law from a subcommittee, and the whole industry is calling all their representatives saying, vote against this. And like, what are you talking about?
I did that.
Yeah, but yeah, like, how were you, you know, when you depended on USARK for this information, and USARK, the organization themselves, didn't know why it was setting all this shit up? How was anybody supposed to know that?
Yeah.
I knew it, Terry Wilkins knew it, and Jeff Behringer knew it, but I think that was about it. There's us three, and then the rest of the world. You know, and that ended up, yeah, that was a mess, man. I've never seen, that was a total scam. That was a 100% fucking scam, because he knew it couldn't pass. There wasn't even time enough for it to pass, because he'd had to get it through that. It would have had to went through a subcommittee, then to a full committee, and then through the Senate, and then to the president. And this was at the end of a session in I think November.
Oh yeah.
And they were all going home for December for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, and you guys are worried about this? And I don't know if you know this, but they used what Wyatt did to do a second executive order that listed the second group of snakes in 2014. Do you know about Executive Order 13112? I think that's it. I think it's 13112.
Oh.
In 1999, Bill Clinton did, I think it was Executive Order 13112. That was the executive order that gave the Secretary of the Interior the ability to do listings and bypass the political process if the political process is getting held up for quote-unquote political reasons. So when Wyatt did that bullshit hearing, they're like, well, look what these reptile people are doing. They're holding up our bill. They're getting it put into committee and doing these shady things. The next year, they come out and they started pushing for it, and by 2014, they went ahead and did another executive order. Yeah, but I'm an asshole. I'm the asshole. Dude, you want to see something crazy?
Yes.
Go on Fauna, and I think it's in the legislative section. You can still find it. In 2015, I think it was in October or something, I made a post warning about what the result was going to be if USARK proceeded with their lawsuit to simply get back importation and not fight the merit of the listing. Whenever you have time, go through that and read it. And I mean, I was like spot on. Everything that I said was going to happen because of that lawsuit has happened.
I'm looking for it right now.
It's on there. You'll find it.
Oh my gosh. All the fun stuff.
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, dude, we got to think about this. Like, we got to think about this. And everybody, you know why everybody wasn't pushing for importation, a lot of the big breeders thought, well, if we can get interstate commerce, and I got this giant collection of retics and nothing new can come in, price is going to go up. I'm like, price ain't going to go up. Berms are going to go up because we haven't been able to ship berms for years, and retic prices are already falling. Luckily, I happen to be producing labyrinth and hypolabyrinths when we got our shit back, and I was like, I couldn't make enough of them. And like they went from $200 to $1,500, and that was actually something I was able to cash in on by accident. I just happened to like labyrinth berms. Yeah, so yeah, that was a fun story. Okay, every question is a 20-minute fucking side street.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not cutting any of this. People can just watch it. Fuck them. Yeah, how was writing the breeding chapter for you?
So
I know the answer to that one.
Yeah, you know the answer because you and I have talked about this a lot. But I think you and I had originally talked. I think we discussed the ethics of it. How I didn't want to do it. I don't think the vast majority of people should breed retics. That shouldn't be a controversial statement.
Maybe like a clutch.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
Having one clutch of retics is very different than being a breeder.
Yeah.
I had never done it. No interest in it. A practice.
If you got some nice ternates, you'd want to breed them.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Because there's a market for that, and my big idea is progressing the hobby. Yeah. So I can progress retics in herpetoculture by breeding pure ternates.
Yeah.
But if I'm breeding an albino 25% super dwarf to a tiger, I'm not doing anything.
No, you're making snakes that are going to end up dead.
Yeah, and that is the absolute last thing I wanted to happen with this book. So I didn't want to write the breeding chapter. And when I was talking to Russ originally about putting together the book, he said, there's no breeding chapter. And he and I talked about it as well. And the verdict was it can't necessarily be a complete book without breeding.
Yeah.
So begrudgingly, I called you and I said, how do you breed retics? Because obviously with no interest, I never looked into it. Very foreign. So had to use you. And then for some of the more specific questions, had to use Lucas on figuring out how to breed these things. But then spending a great deal of effort to convince people not to do it, but if they are going to do it properly. And yeah. I know you haven't gotten through all of the book, but the purchasing guide, I think, is a very good tailpiece of the breeding chapter.
Oh, really? I didn't read that part.
Oh, that is one thing that I am very, very proud of, and it is how do both the breeder and the keeper make sure they're ending up with the right snake that is going to go to the right home and that is going to be cared for correctly. And that's how I justified the breeding chapter to myself.
Okay. See, I don't have to do a lot of vetting.
Because the people who are going to find your stuff already are in there.
Yeah, you're so far down that path, usually by the time you show up at my door. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, I need a ternate because I'm trying to do this. Or I need a fill or a halma because I'm fortunate in that. I'm not like, hey, I don't get a lot of people like, what do you have? I rarely get that. What do you have for sale? I had one guy from New York just try to buy a retic from me.
Is it the entire state or just the city?
It's the entire state.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's the entire state. And I was like, hey, man, they're illegal up there. Sorry, buddy. And he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And I was like, it's like, okay, Fed. Like, you didn't know that. Yeah, but I really am lucky because I actually have really good customers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And usually a lot of times people call me and they just end up asking me questions. That's a lot of inquiries. It's like, I had one guy hit me up. He's like, hey, I just heard about you. And he calls me. And he was like, he didn't know what to do because he had all these questions, and I had a lot of answers for him. And he's like, oh man, I gotta think about all this now. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't sales, so I wasn't giving him sales pitch answers either. It was like, I was just explaining colors and patterns and how to manipulate that shit and the different localities and how to do it. And I am fortunate in that regard that I don't have to. I don't have to lie to anybody. I don't have to do a sales pitch, and I really don't have to do any vetting. Mm-hmm. So, I get to sit on my moral high ground accidentally, basically.
Well, because you're doing it what I would consider correctly. You're breeding desirable animals. Mm-hmm. You're communicating effectively with the people, and you are attracting people who are going to be doing it right in return. Yeah. You don't have 500 listings on Morph Market.
No, I got like 6 or 10, and
I
that's
feel like
they were wasted. Yeah, that was. I only put that up there because I was like, man, it's like maybe somebody will see them, and because I'm still thrown out of like the major Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. So unless you're in one of the groups that I'm allowed in, you don't get to see much of it. Plus there's and there's still that group of people that say, if I find out you're doing business with him, I will not sell you an animal. Like, we'll kick you out of this group, and all that teenage fucking middle school drama.
Oh gosh, I'm so happy I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, well, hey,
this is why you don't breed.
Yeah, well, that was another question. What's the most troubling fact about the retic industry? I'm real curious to hear.
Oh gosh,
I'm real curious.
Easy. Yeah. Overproduction.
Is it? Yeah, that's mine too.
And I think I read you comment this somewhere. I think it was during the Samson thing, but you said that think of how many bearded dragons are produced each year and sold, and how low of quality of homes that they're going into. Yeah. But it makes the news when it's a retic because they can get up to 20 feet. They can kill you. And that it's orders of magnitude how more frequently it happens for these other species, but they're small, so people don't care about them. But for retics, they do. And then, so with retics, you produce one collection. Oh my God, you have 70 eggs. How are you going to get rid of them? And then who are you selling them to? Because if you've had them for 2 years, who wants to buy them, especially if they're not desirable? You're going to put them off on the wrong people. They're going to get hurt. They're going to let them out. Horrible situations just because people aren't doing their due diligence and learning what they have, what they're producing, and then making sure that the people who they are selling to are doing their due diligence.
Yeah. Well, what percentage of a sales pitch investment monetary gain when you started looking into this aspect of retics? What percentage of that mentality do you think exists in the retic industry? Personally, I'm going to say it's pretty fucking high.
And you see it a lot, though.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with looking at retics as an investment, as long as it's long term. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know if you know this, but most people in reptiles only last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I've been keeping reptiles since I was 5, so that puts me at 37 years. I've been keeping reptiles. I have seen so many people come and go, mm-hmm. and it's 3 to 5 years is your average person, and it's like, that's not even long enough. You need 3.5 to raise up a female retic. You know what I mean? So, mm-hmm. and a lot of those people either burn themselves out quickly, or the money isn't there. A lot of new people get burnt. They get sold some junk and some bullshit. But I mean, does it seem like, in my opinion, the monetary push towards this investment seems to be a much more important aspect of the retic industry than certainly preserving localities, preserving pures, selective breeding. That kind of stuff. So I know you talked to a shit pile of people.
Yeah.
I'm guessing your European crew had the European people you probably talked to probably had a little bit different mindset than a lot of
they were the most fun to talk to. They were. Because they care about the animals. And it's refreshing. But I can't give you a great answer to that because I have seen those follies before. Oh gosh, do you remember Mojo pythons? They were ball python breeders like 10 years ago. Oh, okay. Yeah. You remember how fast they disappeared?
I just remember the name. I
Okay.
never paid attention to ball pythons. First snake
Yeah.
I ever got though was a ball python, but I never. I there was not to cut you off in this story. I don't want to say this. Let me think how to say this. It's not that I don't like ball pythons. I don't like how ball pythons change this industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, if you would have been like in the 90s, it was just, it was a totally different vibe.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I remember seeing Mojo. I remember seeing their logo.
Hmm. But we're starting to see some of that again, which is great. But the whole thing with the Mojo Pythons was that they kind of came out of nowhere, and they were one of these really big ball python breeders in terms of quality. And then overnight they disappeared because they sold their collection to someone in Japan. But I was fairly good friends with Mo, and he deleted all social media, nothing. It was just gone in a blink of an eye. And he had to have dropped at least $100,000 into these snakes. He was putting out weekly videos, flashing his Rolex, all of this, and then I watched it disappear in the blink of an eye.
Wow.
And that was my first, and I was 13 years old or something. So that's why I don't want to breed animals. I've seen the monetary drive, and then I've seen how it disappears, and the animals suffer from it. So obviously there is this huge push for sales, but it never has struck a chord with me. So it kind of just went in one ear, out the other. But I understand how people fall victim to it, especially new people, and especially when you see dollar signs. Like, gosh, I see this with Amazon basins. People, they get dollar signs, and then it turns out you can't breed them.
Yeah, I warned my buddy Andrew during the COVID money. He was like, dude, prices are doing this. Price. I'm like, don't bite.
Yeah, no.
Don't bite. I was like, I've been around a little bit. Don't bite. Don't just. It's gonna come right back down. And dude, that's what's crazy. They went like a lot of people got into this during the Trump economy, and then the COVID checks. And there's and that's a lot of people that got into reptiles in that time. That's what they thought the industry was. And I'm like, no, the industry's what's happening now. That's more a little closer to the norm, where nobody has any money and you have a bunch of snakes that you can't sell. That's a little more normal than, I'd never seen that. I'd never seen that pickup quite that crazy as we saw during Trump and then the COVID checks. And I just, that was scary. Not to be too controversial with this, but marketing plays a big role. And there's nobody that's better at marketing retics than Garrett.
Oh, hands down, he is incredible at it.
Yeah.
People could learn a lot
for better or
from
for
him.
worse, he's very good at marketing. Well, it's kind of wearing off a little bit, but and that's how did you see that super dwarf craze? Because I know you got a little bit drawn into the super dwarf craze, and I mean my biggest issue with Reach Out Reptiles was from day one. I said he's going to do a marketing that's not going to be sustainable, and we're seeing that now. We're seeing that fall off in prices. And I just from your perspective, I was curious of what you thought, because he was great at marketing, but it didn't seem like it was even an avenue for a long-term agenda for that.
No. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it was really the super dwarf craze that got me back into caring about retics, because I've told this many, many times before, but grew up going down to Jay's place, and that's me and Garrett. So that was 12 years ago, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I always knew retics as these huge animals that were unobtainable, because I am not a big snake person. I like the little ones because I don't want to die accidentally. I know my limits. And so it was always cool to go see them, but I was never going to bring one home. That's why I have a ball python as my first snake. But then I think it was starting back in 2019, one of Garrett's videos just popped up on my YouTube feed, and I remembered, oh, that's the guy who worked at Prehistoric Pets, and I started watching it and understood that these animals could actually get small, and that's what reignited my interest in them, because now that's, I can actually own it. And then, of course, with the biology, it's very fascinating on how they got small, yada, yada, yada. So that is a very easy thing to get drawn into. And then, wait, remind me of the original question. It was marketing, and then what was the second half of it?
What was your take on the marketing of how well that was done versus the possibility of sustaining it in any way?
Oh, yeah, the reality. You remember Vital Exotics, right?
Yeah. Chris didn't like me over some soulless stuff, but he made a lot of money, but he got out.
Yeah, but they were also someone who was very good at marketing, and probably very good at marketing towards the big snake crowd, even though he did do some super dwarf stuff. Yeah. But I remember the calendars. I remember he was set up at an ARBC Anaheim. There's still photos of that on somewhere. Yeah. But he was very good at marketing. So there is an appetite for someone who is going above and beyond, unlike yourself, who kind of makes people mad, and that's your marketing. So
it's very niche section of digital marketing.
yeah, you can write the next book. But I'm all for someone who is putting the time and effort to market themselves and their animals, especially if you're doing it in a truthful way. And it got taken out of proportion. And I also, this might be a little controversial, but I think a lot of people took it the wrong way, to where it wasn't necessarily, I'll just say the name, it wasn't Garrett saying something, but someone took what Garrett said and then misconstrued it.
Yeah. He wasn't very quick to correct it, though.
That's a different story. I
know. That's a different conversation.
That's not my space.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Like Garrett could say a super dwarf male could stay 6 feet, and that is true. There's a few.
And it turns into super dwarf male only gets 6 feet.
Or just super dwarfs get 6 feet. Yeah. And even though Garrett himself didn't say that, someone took it as that. So that was a big issue that I saw, and that's not the person's fault that they misinterpreted that. But the way I think you could improve is marketing yourself is very easy. Either you show that you have better looking animals, like you do all the time.
That's the only reason I sell snakes.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other reason, because people have been trying to cancel me for over a decade. And it's like, I'm impossible to cancel simply because I make nice looking snakes. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And there will always be a market for someone who makes nice looking snakes. Yeah. And I would say with strong genetics too, because you're working with so much wild caught and you're not inbreeding just, everything to everything, which drives me up the wall. But I always harp on disease testing. If you sell yourself as a person who's disease testing your animals, you will get a market. We're seeing that in ball pythons right now. We're even seeing it in boas because they get Reptile virus so commonly. That's another sales pitch you can do. I would say lineage tracking is another one that, can you show where this came from? Can you show this animal's great-grandparents? No, you can, but not everyone else. That's one of my other benefits that I have. It's like, well, here's the day they showed up in a box. Yeah. And here's what I've done with them. What's crazy though is Ternates specifically, they were $2,500 when I first produced the first pures in 2018, and they're $2,500 a pair here in 2024, and I'm pretty sure that's a world record. I'm serious, dude. Call Guinness.
Yep. Yeah. What else has held that in retics? What other have you seen a retic hold a price like a Ternate?
For 10 years, no.
No, but I mean, not quite 10, but for 6 going on 7 years, same price. You know, I mean, it's one thing if like a purple's still $200, but they, you know, that's where it bottomed out at. Like, I have not had to drop my price, and I'm so glad I didn't try to charge $5,000 when I first produced them. I'm so glad I was like, I think 2,500 is fair. They're going to be 2,500.
It helps when you were the only one producing them for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
Has anyone else produced pure turn rates?
Yeah.
Has
Joshua Jeter did, and Lucas did, and I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. People are really starting to understand the value of ternate for morphs. They're really starting to understand the value of that.
A super Maluku female is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Get the super Tambalongans from Chris Hokie. That is
I'm going to try to have him on. I wanted him to come on and talk about that.
Because it was a great pairing.
Yeah.
You're getting size and color, and what else could you ask for?
Yeah, I really wanted to, because somebody else, what the hell else? Somebody even put in some Solar Blood into some stuff and made some really nice looking stuff. Size-wise, it's not going to help too much, but yeah, my buddy Andrew, he's doing the Philatoas again.
Those look really good.
And I think my buddy Sean, I think he's also doing that. Sean is doing a Halmahara Purple Superdwarf project this year.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So.
How long till he gets visuals? Will I have moved out of Florida by the time?
You got some time. Yeah.
Okay, good.
The breeding.
I got 2.5 more years here.
Yeah, the breeding just started, so yeah, you got to wait for a clutch first. But yeah, he's doing that. He's not, what the hell else is he doing this year? He's doing a couple other things. I know he's making 75% Super Dwarf double het snows, which I think is important. I really think we need to get to that 75% mark.
Has Eric Lee done it?
Well, he's going to be making hets. He'll be making double hets because he's got one of my old lines of Calatoas, a male that he's running into.
And he's got the nice stuff, or Sean's got the nice stuff.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of Phil stuff too. All his stuff's really nice. He got some really nice stuff off of Garrett like 4 or 5 years ago. That was really nice because he used to be up there helping Garrett a lot. Him and Rob were buddies, and he'd go up there and help and stuff, and help Garrett out quite a bit. And then Garrett told him they couldn't be friends no more because he talked to me or whatever. Yep, coming in hot like it's fucking 7th grade. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's how the retic industry progresses. Mm-hmm. I think continually trying to improve an aesthetic look while simultaneously trying to downsize them. And I found that, and the reason I think 75% is so important, because in the stuff that I've done with localities, you really get, there's a drastic difference between the 50% outcross and the 75% in look. So my theory is, if it's changing, if there's that many polygenic traits at play when it comes to color and pattern, I'm guessing you're going to get the benefit also on the size end of it once you get into 75%. I think you're going to have a much smaller animal. But the 50 to like this 50% Super Dwarf to 50% Super Dwarf breedings, I think people are going to be surprised when they see the range of sizes. I think a 50% Super Dwarf produced from a pure to a mainland is going to create a much more even across the range size. But I've tried to tell people, I'm like, dude, we don't even know how many genes are at play for size.
Oh yeah.
And when you have mainland coming from both sides, well, like, you have no idea. You might get some Super Dwarf size animals, and you might get some fucking 18-foot snakes. And people ask me all the time. I just had to ask somebody ask me today, because I made Mindanao granite backs that I haven't, because I want to start changing up the anthrax colors, or just adding a little bit more. And they're like, well, how big will it get? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. We'll stay under. They're like, well, we'll stay under 12 feet. I'm like, give or take. I don't know. It's like, I'm not giving you a size because I have no idea. No, I'm not. This project isn't for trying to downsize. It's for trying to improve a morph. So that's why I made it. That's not what the snake was made for. It's, I got super dwarf granite backs by them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then crossing into ternates or Tamalongans, you have a very easy route to make it look better while keeping the size down.
Yeah. Yeah, and at least if I can get, a lot of ternate stuff at 75%, and then somebody can take my work and then run that into their super dwarf stuff. Because exactly. I'm not interested in doing all of it. I'm just going to do my part to make the snakes look better and downsize them a little bit. Then the super dwarf people, they can do their part with my animals. I'll do my work, and then they can do their work. And I think that's good too, because I'm not trying to run the full spectrum of everything, because I don't want to do that. I just have no interest in doing that.
Yeah, but you got to find the person who is, and that's the hard part.
Well, you got Eric Lease, going to be coming on, I think, next week, and he's really into doing that high percentage super dwarf work, and that's a lot of work, man. Mm-hmm. It's once you get up to 87.5, I mean, that's a lot of years you've put in to get there.
Absolutely.
So, I'm really interested to talk to Eric to see where he's going with his collection.
He is one of the best people in Retics.
Yeah, he's super nice guy.
Yeah. Super
nice. I don't know if you've talked to him much, but he's always super nice dude, and just, friendly, and, real honest about what he's producing and what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I can't speak highly enough of him.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Andrew have a ocelot ternate clutch on the ground. Oh. Yeah, ternate's had ocelot. Jeez. That I'm not supposed to tell people about, but I just did.
How do you avoid using ternate into ocelot without it turning into the original male? Because that's, every time you talk about this project, that's what I'm thinking of. That original male is what you're going to end up producing.
The original male doesn't look too bad. He looks... The problem with that, I don't like that high silver look.
I love it. That's my favorite.
Well, I like it by itself, but here's what I look at. When I look at those high silver ocelots, which, if that's all you're going to do with it, what the fuck is going on with my computer? If that's all you're going to do with it, then you're golden. Mm-hmm. I suggest taking it into super dwarf, making it even more silver. You know what I mean? Do that. I recommend taking a high silver ocelot and putting it into Rennick Ghost. Super high white. That would be an awesome snake. Guaranteed to be an awesome snake. But if you want to start adding morphs and color towards the albino T positive, you have to add pattern outlining back. And so you have to get that color back that should be around the rosettes, that should be around the back diamonds, because when Aubrey produced the first Indo caramels, how surprised were you at how they looked? Did you think they were going to have a little bit more of an orange base when you really think about it? Because I mean, if you ever seen an albino or Indo caramel that didn't really have an orange base,
yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a couple little things out there, like a genetic stripe's not going to have too much of an orange base. But think about how nice a Indo caramel Sunfire ocelot would be if you could take that ocelot pattern and in between that pattern have it be like glowing orange, and you get that dark Indo. So that's the process that I have to, Andrew and Eric are going down, and that's the route that I'm going to be going down too. So my goal is Mindanao head ocelot and ternate head ocelot.
So you're not looking at just creating the best ocelots by themselves. You're looking at how to add, 3 morphs into it.
Well,
2 morphs.
Yeah. I'm looking at I mean, because if I'm going to progress it, I have to progress it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like for an example, I'll give you an example of this. A Sunfire Solaire, like at 50% or more, as an adult, isn't going to look very good because of how much dark pigment there is in Saputrii.
Mm-hmm.
But the albino version of that, now you're smoking every fucking albino sun ever made, because that Saputrii trait now is operating in a much different capacity and creating this insane amount of contrast. And that's how I look at stuff. Like, if I gotta, I might have to take a couple steps back to go a couple steps forward. But the darkness of the ternate, I think if I use the right ternate, I could take that silver to a gunmetal blue. And a gunmetal blue ocelot would look neat as fuck, especially if it had a yellow head. If you had a yellow head with gunmetal blue down the sides with them big ass black rosette things and that back pattern, that would probably be a pretty neat looking snake.
And it is within the color spectrum of a retic, because within the blue hypo, it does have that.
It would be much darker than a blue hypo, because a lot of ternates actually don't have silver on the side, especially as they get older. It goes into that much darker coloration. But the ocelot does seem to tend towards that lighter color, so you would get a shift. You would get somewhere in between, like super ternate dark and ocelot light, and that's probably going to be close to a gunmetal blue.
Now you got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's something I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about it for a couple years actually. Of like, okay, what do I want to do with ocelot? You know what I mean? Because I mean, I as much as Aubrey doesn't care for me, and I'm not exactly his biggest fan, I think he's made some really nice stuff.
That clutch that Lucas, Eric, and then Shane got.
Yeah, incredible. Those are nice ass animals.
Yeah, those are really nice.
Those are really nice animals. And I think he did, somebody sent me a picture, because people are always trying to stir up shit. And it's like, I don't care what Aubrey's doing with my stuff, as long as he's making stuff that looks nice. Just don't make ugly snakes with my snakes. I don't have a fucking problem. Don't be fucking dragging my shit through the mud, making some ugly bullshit. I think he bred a orange glow sunfire anthrax tiger to a ternate. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, I do that every day.
Yeah, that's... It's like, I hope you don't think this is making me mad, because I can't wait to see those babies.
That'll look really good.
You know what I mean? But I think like Aubrey doing something like that, whether it's try to piss me off or whatever his intentions are, I think the result's positive. I don't think the intentions, with the breeding that good, I don't, his intentions don't really matter. The result's going to be awesome.
It's great, because I can sit here and say I don't care about either of your intentions, but someone in my position is benefiting from the two of you competing, and that's exactly what I want. You two can hate each other. I don't care. You're making beautiful snakes. He's making beautiful snakes. Yeah, the retics are better for it.
And I think, and I don't think we need the animosity, but I do think that we do need to be trying to one up each other.
Absolutely.
And if you saw, I don't know if you said you watched that anthrax video. I still think Jake Klotz has made the nicest looking morph combo today.
Absolutely.
And so he did that with orange glow. So I'm going to try to one up him with straight Indo caramel.
And then the good news is he's going to one up you again, and then one up him.
And I think and once I make that snake that one ups him, well, then I got to run that in the ternate so I can thicken up the black, and then that's another fucking however many year project. You know what I mean? So I think that's I think as long as we're trying to do better than each other and do better than we've done in previous breeding seasons, I really think that's how you actually progress this forward.
Absolutely. Inspiring good competition between breeders is what will progress this hobby.
Yeah, because, when Aubrey's like, I want to get ternates and I'm going to give them all away for free, I'm like, no, you're not. I was like, as soon as you start hatching that shit out and you start seeing how good it looks, and you're going to get, people are going to be willing to give you more money than somebody else because your animals look so good. Go ahead, give them away.
That is,
you know what I mean? Go, like, let's see how. No, it's like you're gonna. Dude, I don't care how much you dislike me. You cannot deny Ternates. Like, they are fucking cool. Like, and Garrett's the only person that won't use them. Everybody else is like, yeah, I don't like Rodney, but these snakes are pretty nice.
Okay, back to your point about anthrax. This 2-page fold where I'm showing anthrax combos, all 3 of them are from Jake.
Oh,
because that's how good they are.
Yeah, he's made some really nice anthrax. And that one, man, that one that I put in that video, there's just something about that snake. It's like, holy shit, that thing's impressive.
Yeah.
So what? Hey, do you want to talk about Anory gene at all? Because that one's a little bit controversial. So yeah, we got to say something controversial so people watch this. Because if I don't say something to irritate everybody, they get mad.
Yes. Are you able to screen share on this, or am I able to screen share?
I don't fucking know.
Let me look here. Because I sent you those photos, and I do want to talk about them, because it shows I have actually been doing this for a long time.
You can send them, and I can just plug them. If you can't screen share, you can just send them, and I'll plug them in.
Okay. Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, because I can just plug them in. I actually just, like, the reason, like, this background, I don't have everything lit up like normal, is I'm moving this office to the other side of my house, and I just got an Elgato switcher thingy. So like, if I would have had my shit together and had the office already set up, I could have had them preloaded in the switcher and just hit a button to, like, because it seems like since I'm not fighting with people as much anymore, like, I'm like, more people, I keep getting asked to make content, surprisingly. And everyone's like, yeah, like, everyone loved that mean Rob's video, the anthrax video. I keep getting messages, hey, can you please put out more information like this? Can you please do this? So they're like, all right, well, if this is what you guys want, I'll put it out.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you is, why aren't we seeing the Anory and Anory combos like we did 10 years ago? Because you can put up those photos and you'll see how different
they look Anory as fuck.
Yeah, there's no denying it. Why aren't we seeing that now? Because those same genetics still exist. It's not like those animals are gone.
Yeah, but the polygenic traits that help influence that Anory look are getting washed out. I don't know if you've noticed, but everything kind of seems to go towards, like, a common ground, like a common back pattern structure, a common side pattern structure, a common color spectrum, and I don't think people appreciate, like, when I make an aberrant back pattern snake, that's not an accident. You know what I mean? That was like, I had to, like, do this and do this and do this, and then just hope those genes line up. Because I'm not doing, like, this isn't morph shit. This isn't like, well, it's 1 out of 4, 1 out of 2. Like, no, it's polygenics are tough, man.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, okay, these genes, this back pattern doesn't look like it would line up very well with this back pattern, so I'm going to put them together and try to create some chaos. And you have to do that kind of stuff. But as more people get away from the whole pure SD, and it gets bred into, because you got to also remember, a lot of that shit was like, an SD, and then they raised them up and bred it together, and then bred it back to an SD, and, like, there wasn't nearly as much mainland genetics floating around in super dwarf breedings, because they just there wasn't enough of them done. And I think that's what's really killing the Anory look, other than 10 years ago when I warned everybody that half the Anorys aren't Anorys. You know what I mean? And I just think, and we were talking earlier you said about how, like, Tambalongan, Ternate, Slayer, it's all overpowering super dwarfs.
Yeah.
And I just think that's what you're seeing. I honestly think that, and a lot of them aren't really Anorys.
Well, it makes sense that the polygenic traits that you're seeing are essentially trying to turn it back into a wild type.
Yeah.
Because that's what nature has decided over tens of thousands of years that it wants. Yeah. So that's what you're fighting against, and I don't think that's necessarily appreciated.
No.
However, if you're breeding two snakes that look good, why aren't we seeing more snakes that look good when that foundation has already been laid?
Well, I can answer that from my perspective, and that is, at least with traits, is two snakes that look good bred together don't necessarily give you that result. Like the
Even
hardest
if they're
thing,
related?
well, kind of, but the thing that I learned was if I want to make something that I think looks good, like an aberrant back pattern, I have to. You almost have to do the exact opposite. You need to find misalignments in diamonds and misalignments in parts of pattern, and put that together to get something really crazy. But the other thing is, how many more morphs are getting dumped into these animals? And that's the thing I'm always stressing. It's like, stop thinking about morphs in the sense that they add something. Think about they take something away. And that was like the moment, like when I started to understand morphs from that perspective, is they don't add anything, they remove stuff. That's what allowed me, like my progression of retics has been, you can timeline it out. They just keep getting better and better and better looking. Where unfortunately, not to talk any shit, but a lot of people's are getting more and more kind of mediocre. And I think it's because they're not really looking at what they're adding. Well, they're trying to add stuff and not realizing they're taking something away in the process. So, like the ocelot, I'm going to try to use ternates that have a lot of side banding to try to put some color back around. So when in the future that I want to make the Indo-Caramel version or the Indo-Caramel Sun Tiger version, I have an area on that snake's pattern that's the color's already been put back in. And I don't think, dude, who's doing that? Like, you ever hear anybody else like have this like, you took what, 2 years to write that book? Did anybody have this conversation with you?
No, but I also didn't invite it, so.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, though. Like,
yes.
It's like the big thing. Like, if you talk to me about breeding, it's like, hey, let's talk about polygenic traits. That's what I like. I don't give a fuck about the morph side. It's like polygenic traits are where it's at, and I just don't think anybody's really focusing on it. Like, I'll give you an example. Like Shane's Sunfires. They're not. It's not the Sunfire. You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah.
No, it's that base that he kind of, I don't want to say accident. He was trying to selectively breed to make nice Sunfires, but he was like, okay, I'm going to selectively breed this nice Sunfire and this nice Sunfire. It wasn't that Sunfire was nice because it had a set of traits that allowed it to look nicer than your average Sunfire. You know what I mean? So I don't think until people switch their thinking over, and Anory, dude, Anory is such, dude, that's going to turn into a giant shit show. There's only going to be a handful of people that have legitimate Anorys. I guarantee that. I can promise you that's going to turn into a fucking nightmare.
It will reward people who have spent the money and gotten nice examples of it, and then can further create nice examples.
Yeah, and the people that thought little bit extra green fucking pigment meant it was Anory, they're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. There's a base morph Sunfire there of Shane's. So you can see why his looks so good. There's so much more to work with in terms of color spectrum, and then there's a Super Sun down there. Yeah.
Did you see those Mindanao Sun Tigers I made?
Yes, or they might even be in here.
No, I just made them. The Mindanao Sun Tiger?
Then I haven't, no.
Oh, hold on. I'm just going to... Are you on your phone?
I can. I'm on my laptop, so I can pull up my texts.
Okay. I want to send you a video real quick. Yeah, I knew they were going to be nice. I didn't know they were going to... I knew it was going to kind of change the color, but I honestly didn't think it'd be this drastic. I really didn't. Oh, hey, I got your number wrong when I was trying to text you earlier.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so some asshole was getting texts from me like, "Hey, you want to come on my podcast? I'm in the." So like, who is this psycho? Yeah, hopefully I didn't send it to him. Yeah, because the last numbers I put 47 instead of 74.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're probably really confused of what I was talking about.
Oh, dang, that's nice. Those side rosettes are that gives you so much to work with.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see? Yeah, do you see the color though? That color is totally different. It's even different than this Ternate Sun Tigers I'd made.
Wow. Someone should buy that. If it's looking to fly.
Yep, it's yeah. I don't have very many of them. I actually did that project. Because Sean, he's real into the Phil project. So like, hey, if I make you a Philippine Sun Tiger head Indo project, you want it? And I said, and he's like, yeah. I was like, all right. So I made the clutch, and we got that project started with Sean, and then I'm going to try to sell out a couple of them. But a lot of people don't understand, like, because I went like $1,000 for them. I'm like, fuck you, I ain't giving you $1,000 for that. It's fucking Sun Tiger. It's like, well, yeah, it's like the nicest Sun Tiger you've ever seen, and it's 50% outcrossed with Philippine blood, and it's het Indo caramel. So, because if that was the Indo version of that, would be like fluorescent.
Mm-hmm.
But
the people who see that will be rewarded tenfold.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those people. But like that 0.5%, yeah, they'll be doing great. The other 99.5 aren't going to be doing so hot.
You got to find them and convince them. That is your marketing.
Yeah, but I do think there's a lot more people moving towards it though. Like just the amount of what did Lucas do? He bred that was it Orange Glow Purple Sunfire?
Purple OGS.
To Soleil. And I was like, man, Shane should already have that. He should already have the Soleil version of all his snakes.
But that potential hasn't been seen before you were doing that, at least in the US.
Dude, I made Soleil Sun Tiger head albinos. I think.
Okay, yes, you did it because it was like 2014. I've seen.
Yeah, I've made those fucking a decade ago.
Yes, but the end result of what you're producing now hasn't been seen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like people wait. They're like, I'll wait to see how it looks like. It's like, well, you might want to jump on it now, and then not because you're gonna wait 3 years just to be 3.5 years until you can breed it.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought the albino pieds? Well, actually, that's a very stupid question. It makes sense why they look the way they do.
I just got a pied today.
You did? Okay, what are you going to do with it?
Bro, I don't know. Okay. Dude, it's fucking nice. Here, I'll send you a couple pictures of it.
Yeah, send me them.
It's I just got a pied because my buddy hit me up. He's like, hey, I got this pied. It was pretty. It's a fucking psycho. Do you want it? I was like, if you want to take some babies or something for it. And he's like, yep, it's yours. I'll bring it over. Like immediately. He's like, yep, here you go. It's dude, this is a super nervous snake. I mean, it's like
all of them are.
Well, yeah, I mean, this snake is like it was acting scared, so I put a hide in for it, and she's chilled out. And she's like 10 foot. She's got her whites are so white, man. They are like snow ass white.
Does she have a white head?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's pretty, isn't she? I just got her this morning.
Nice.
Because I was like, he hits me up. He's like, you want a pied? I'm like, no, they're fucking ugly. And he's like, well, this one's pretty nice. I'm like, and he sends me the picture. And I was like, I'm trying not to get any more retics. But so I had more retics go out than came in today. So I felt like it was a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was. That's a pretty ass snake, though, ain't it?
That's yeah. I like pied a lot.
I don't. I don't. The only thing I want to do with it, I don't know if I'll do it with her or not, because this is a long-term project that I'd rather somebody else do. I want to put Halma into pied to take that silver from silver to basically almost black.
Will you lose the stark white though?
No, because white's white. You know what I mean? White. You know what I mean? You can't fuck with white. White is a lack of color. So, because I was talking to Andrew today, I was like, well, I said this would be a forever fucking project, but what if I took like a really dark Halma and put it in with pied GC, and motley to make like a panda, like a true panda pied.
Yeah,
Because
panda pied,
that would be because of how dark motley and GC are. If you throw like a basically black set of genetics from Halma on it, you're gonna make basically a black snake, like a truly black snake. And if you could make a black-eyed panda pied, I think there's some that look kind of panda pied-ish, but they're not quite.
If you take them out in the sun, but they don't.
Yeah.
I've got one in the book. That's what I'm looking for.
Panda pied or the motley
Yeah.
GC?
Panda pied.
What did they use to make that?
I think it was motley GC.
Oh, was it? See, I'm not up on it. Like dude, a pied retic compared to a pied berm or a pied ball python, you know what I mean? It's just like not even. It's like you're not even in the same fucking league, man. Like pied retics just don't compete with other pieds, and if pied retics would have had a much different, if they would have kept their pattern and just got white. And I need to do a video on that, but I don't even know how to explain pied. I'm like, why does this do what it does? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It just, because most pieds are just pieds. But a pied retic has this total destruction of back pattern and side pattern.
And that's a young one now.
Okay.
So,
we don't. Yeah, I can make one almost black, but it'd take me forever.
Jay's got some that are very nice.
Really?
Yeah.
What's he doing with his retics?
I don't know. Next time I'm back in California, I need to go down there and call him.
Damn, my battery's about to die on us.
Oh.
So,
okay, well, I want to ask you one last question before your battery dies. Did you learn anything in the parts you have read in this?
Of the what?
Have you learned anything in the parts of the book that you've read?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, actually, I was impressed that you managed to get pictures of stuff from Nicobar and India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was really excited, because I get really excited when I see something I've never seen before for a retic. And I'd never seen, I mean, besides the Superdorf Nicobar head albinos, Superdorfs that we have here, I've never actually... I don't know who scooped that up. I missed it. I didn't get to it quick enough. But I never saw Nicobar. And Wolfgang for years had been telling me about Indian retics, and I was like, I'd never seen one, you know.
So that range map with that Mizoram, that is brand new. So it's not in any other book. That is, only the true range as accurate as I can get it, that range map. That's why there's India in it.
Were you able to figure out how far east and how far south they went?
Yeah, that was part of it. So that Mizoram, Catogram, I listed out. And then south, I've only seen one Timor retic. There are some on Komodo.
Yeah, I know really cool. Yeah, but they go further than I was thinking. They went further than that. I'd have to look at a map. Okay, yeah, but supposedly they're on Key Island and Garong Archipelago. I was never able to get them in, but I had people tell me like, "Hey, there's stuff on Garong and Key Island," and I was never able to get pictures, and I was never able to get them imported. But I mean, supposedly they're there.
So yeah, well, if there's more proof, but
yeah,
right now there's not.
Yeah, that was over 10 years ago. I got told about those, and I was like, man, I'd love to, because those, like especially Garong, those would be Superdorfs. Those would be Superdorfs. How many more Superdorf islands do you think science is going to find out about eventually?
Oh, so many. Like
a couple hundred.
I go to an island and look for a retic. How many years did it take to find the Komodo retics?
Yeah, because they're all hiding in trees.
Yeah.
They're all hiding in trees from the Komodos and in caves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Rinka, what is it? It's Komodo, Padar, and Rinka. I know Rinka has Timors.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know Rinka. I don't know if they go the whole way to Komodo, but I know they're on Rinka, because I think Rinka is the furthest east, if I remember correctly.
I think I have a map of Komodo somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Were there other things that you learned? Because in some ways, this book was like, what can I?
The history, the captive history stuff was the stuff I had no idea. about all, like, you know, those old ass pictures. I didn't know anything about that stuff. I'd never looked into it because I've always been focused on island localities, and that's really been, I've never looked into the history of that. So that was one thing that I was like, damn. Yeah, that was, you must have done some digging to get that shit.
Yeah.
What's your
You
next?
were privy to that digging.
Yeah, what's your next book you're gonna write?
Absolutely none. Nope.
Really?
No.
It was that unenjoyable.
I am very sensitive.
Me too.
And I also like to hide in my little cave. So
Yeah, I noticed you like shit can social media.
yeah, I might go back to Instagram, but definitely not Facebook. I just like to be in my little bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, you know me. I'm very, I don't know, atypical or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So you don't think you're gonna do anything else though? Like a Timor book would be a scrub book, man.
Oh,
Because I can tell you about some islands that have scrubs that people don't know have scrubs.
I think it would be cool to do a Green Tree book, but through the lens of captive history.
Okay.
Because there's so much more. The natural history side's already been covered by Dr. Doolander, but the captive history, there's so much that could be written about. I love Rosy Boas too.
Yeah, there's a lot of like diehard locality rosy boa people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into locality wagglers vipers.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. Dude, did you see those? Did you see those ones from Banka Island that they just like 2 months ago? They got somebody in Java had a group of Bankas. I'm like, oh my god, they were so pretty. I would love to do locality wagglers. Actually, all that Tripitalamus, I'd love to have all of them. They're such neat animals. They're super awesome, neat.
Beyond Timors and then Scrubs, what else do you think should be? What should my next book be?
I don't know. Maybe a monitor, like tricolors. Man, I think tricolors are like the least. I think tricolors are the coolest monitor, and like they get no attention. Like that's actual goal of mine is once I move out, I'm going to move out some more morphs to make some room, and I think I'm going to build a couple like 6 foot high cages and get some tricolors. Like I don't know if you've ever like really seen a tricolor monitor. They're cool as shit.
Are they?
Oh yeah, you've never seen one?
No, not in person.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're
Look it up right now.
yeah, they're a really neat looking monitor.
Yeah.
And hardly anybody's doing anything with those.
A lot of the monitor stuff you'd think would be more worked with, but they're not, which is
Like
I don't get it.
Melinas, like the yellows. You think Melinas?
Oh, the yellow tree monitors?
Yeah, or not the yellow tree. The yellows. The little. They're like basically dwarf water, so they're actually manageable, and you don't need a half a house.
Melinas, okay.
Yeah, they're on Halma. I think they're on Halma. Yeah.
Oh, Keensmore, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're up there because I know the tricolors are on in the Malukus too, and then they go over east from there.
I will say, okay, if anyone wants to co-author a book, message me.
Yeah, we'll put
I
this
will.
up there.
I'd love to help, but
Yeah.
there will never be another sole author endeavor.
Yeah, I always wanted to write a retic book, but I just never. It's just easier to make videos and put out some information.
I think that's for your skill set. That is better.
Yeah. Yeah, because I like the spell checking issue of me writing a book would be a nightmare. Yeah. And nobody's going to want to publish it with all the vulgarity in it.
You have to have kind of like a certain prose, obviously, and then flow it in a certain way that
Yeah.
I think you are so off the cuff, it is hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like all these videos I do are off the cuff.
Yeah.
I don't fucking write nothing down. It's all off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how I make all my content. It's just I don't write anything down, or there's no script, there's no outline, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
I just start talking.
Well, if you want to write a retic book, feel free.
Yeah,
Because
I wrote
the more
6
knowledge,
chapters.
the better. Yeah,
I wrote 6
I read
chapters.
through it.
Yeah, yeah, I wrote 6. I was like, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. I'm done with this. Nobody cares. And it was free, so I didn't make a dime from it.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah. Are you making any? Are you making any in the profit margin yet?
I am not in charge of that, so
Okay.
no.
What? You wrote a book and you're not getting paid for it?
I think at the end I will.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
not right now. I
guess
think it has to turn a profit first.
Yeah, I was gonna say if somebody was gonna finance it, they got to get paid first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
that's how that works. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to hit, but I'm liking these podcasts that are more of like just like an open discussion. Like I'm enjoying like these kind of talks because we're not trying to sell nothing to nobody. We're just I just think it's a good form of content to be producing. Or just I think I'm gonna start calling this the Safe Space Podcast, the R&B Reptile Safe Space Podcast, where you can just say whatever you want because it's a safe space and you can feel comfortable.
I wish I had something more divisive to say then.
Yeah.
If it was under that banner.
Just start screaming racial slurs. We'll get some views.
No, but I will say, if you want to buy the book, I'll do my sales pitch.
Yeah.
I think it is on Amazon, or you can message Russ Gurley, you can...
I'll put a link. I'll put a little VR code. I'll put all that shit into it. So we'll get it up there.
Yeah.
You
Lucas is my unofficial media person, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
if you really want to get in contact with me, call Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah, he's. How is their podcast going? They're doing that book club.
I don't know, but it's been like 3 times he said, "Can I give so and so your number?" And it's like Ryan Young. Obviously, I want Ryan Young to text me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, did Ryan get a copy of it? He's a nice guy.
Yeah. I like Ryan a lot.
Yeah, he's spread a lot.
He's very similar to you.
In a kind of like a
in a tame way.
Yeah, he's very into what he's into.
Yes, and his stuff has been in his house forever, and that plays a role in why he is so good at what he does.
Yeah, that's a big part of my success with breeding is it's almost a closed system.
Yeah. So same thing with him.
He's dude. I forget how many species he's bred. It's ridiculous.
He has bred the most pythons of anyone in captivity.
Yeah, I know it's up there. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but all right, I think we're gonna wrap this up because my camera's literally gonna shut off on me any second. But yeah, it was a good talk. I'm glad you came on, Glenn. And
thanks for having me.
I'll get some links up for some sales, and I'd tell you to promote this on social media, but you don't have any.
You can do my social media promoting for me.
Yeah, I'll put a link. I meant to put a link up on my website, and I forgot about it. So I'm actually going to try to get some sponsors.
Really? Good luck.
We're going to see. Yeah, so we're going to see who wants to run the risk of getting their business canceled by sponsoring me. We're working on it. Hey, I get views though. Yeah. If your goal is to get people to see your shit, like I do get some views, I do get a decent amount of people tuning in.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this one will do well. I'll if it doesn't, whatever. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm here to talk to you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a good talk, and I think we'll call it. And let me shut this off, but do not hang up yet.